Welcome back, everybody, to your three-man booth. We are heading into NFL Week 7. I'm Dan Salem with Phil and Bud, and the three of us were undefeated last week. ATS combined 6-0, so I hope you used our picks. We're having a very good season overall. I'm shifting gears with my own theme for picks this week, but we will start, as we always do, with Phil.
So I was laughing as I was looking at these spreads because Dallas is playing Washington, and it's a pick'em. I really want to predict a tie. I really do. But I know that's not going to happen.
You just got to pick the winner.
You're right. You just got to pick the ball. But I wanted to pick a tie. But just so they both can't win, right? I want them both to lose. I'm looking at this line. I'm like, Dallas is not that. I mean, listen, they just lost Zach Martin too, right? I don't know much longer he's out. You saw Zeke put the ball on the ground twice. Now, if that's a product of Zeke not holding on the ball himself or the defenders getting through the line as quickly as they can now because there's no one to block. Lyle Collins is out. Zach Martin's out. Travis Frederick's got the neck thing. He's out. He's retired. So that great offensive line that we've heard nonstop shoved down our throats for 5 years is literally dissolved to nothing.
Well, Zeke lost me my fantasy week, so if you're gonna pick against him again, go right ahead.
No, I am. So I'm gonna take Washington.
All right. Even, or do they get a plot? Do they get any points at all? No.
No, it's a pick 'em.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna go. Let's see. I'll take Atlanta -2 against Detroit, or -2.5. Julio Jones is back. His hamstring seems to be fine. When they're clicking on all cylinders, I mean, you got to keep up, and I don't see Matt Stafford keeping up with the Atlanta offense if they're scoring points.
No, you can actually get it as low as -1 if you want to take the best line possible.
Oh, then I'll take -1 technically then. All right, there you go. Those are mine.
Who you got, Bud?
San Francisco is underdogs by 2 points, right, against New England. Yeah,
no. San Francisco's getting 2 points.
Yeah, so they're underdogs.
Oh, underdogs. Sorry, you're correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so New England's given 2 points. I'll take San Francisco. I mean, the way San Francisco played against LA this week, Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 weeks ago he played awful. Last week he played – I know, Phil. I know. Sorry. He needed Jimmy G big time 2 weeks ago.
I needed any quarterback 2 weeks ago.
Is it a coincidence that I said I was going to root for the Rams and they got smoked?
Yeah, I'll take San Francisco because I'm not sold on New England. We were talking about this in the podcast, Phil and I. Something's going on with New England, which obviously makes me happy. Good luck being losers. And then I'm gonna take Buffalo. I'll lay 13. I'll buy that to 15 or 20 if they give it to me. It doesn't matter. The Jets are an absolute dumpster fire. And it doesn't really matter who the quarterback's going to be. Adam Gase is a little hush-hush this week with whether or not Sam is going to play. I don't anticipate Sam playing. This game could easily be, especially since Buffalo has lost 2 games in a row and they haven't looked very good. This is the perfect rebound game. Yeah. I see this being a complete mess. So I'll take Buffalo and lay the points.
Yeah, I want to circle back on both the Patriots and the Jets after I lay my picks. Mike drop, he's out. So for my picks this week, I'm looking at 2 teams coming off humiliating losses, but they're winning teams and they're facing losers. So I got the Packers -3. They are at Houston. The Texans looked better last week. They're still a bad football team. The Packers are really good. I mean, Tampa Bay humiliated them. I don't see them losing back-to-back. I don't see Aaron Rodgers letting another game get away from him like that. Tom Brady really stuck it to him. And so I like the Packers. They're only giving up a field goal. That's a solid pick in my opinion. And I'm also going to pick the Browns for the same reason. They've looked really good all season. They were humiliated by the Steelers. Now Baker Mayfield got benched, but they're only giving up 3 points, and they're playing the Bengals. Cincinnati's been competitive, but they're not a good team. I think 3 points, Browns, Packers bounce back with victories. Field goals are nothing. Those are our 6 locks for Week 7.
Now, the fun thing is Bud said he's going to be in Atlantic City next weekend. Ooh. So we're going to have to pick a game, and he's going to put money on it for us.
Not not this weekend.
Next weekend.
For week 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
I won't be there I'll be there on Monday.
All right. So
Perfect.
Yeah. I think there's a solid game on Monday night, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check. Do we want to bet Chicago versus the Rams?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
No.
Bears are getting 6.
Nope.
There's over-unders. You can do over-unders.
Well, I'd bet against the Jets the following week if you were going to be there to do it, but
Phil and I we were talking yesterday in the podcast when we did it yesterday that the early reports are that it could be one of the largest spreads in NFL history. Right now the Vegas is saying 20 points for the Chiefs against the Jets, and that's considering Sam Darnold playing. They said if Flacco plays, the game could get up to 26.
It's so tempting to take 26 points, but you shouldn't do it.
It'd be funny. Like I legitimately heard that. I said that to Phil yesterday. I heard it on the radio that's what Vegas is predicting right now.
They're going to set records this year. So if that's the first, then that's the first. I wrote that article about records of ineptitude this legendary season. I mean, did you see the play of the year is going to be another butt play? At least it was an interception in the positive. But I mean,
right. You have a butt fumble and a butt interception now.
That was an impressive butt interception. The player, his own teammate, almost knocked it out of his hands, and he cradled it behind his back.
It was very impressive. I mean, there was like 3 bodies falling all over the place, and it was on his ass, it was on his shoulder. It was good.
May was the best player in that secondary after Adams left, and it's nice to see him still trying, even though the team season is worthless. So
they'll trade him in a week because he's in the last year of his contract. They're going to trade him like they did with Williams.
Well,
they just traded someone else today to San Francisco. I mean, he was a nobody, but they pulled the trigger again today.
I think that's not a bad decision to trade and get as many picks as you can get. If you're going to burn down the house, you might as well spark a big fire. I wrote that article about trading Darnold a couple weeks ago. I don't know if that's a serious option, but I'm sure he's on the block.
I
know, right? I know it's awful, right? We're starting over. We hit reset again, or you hit reset. I don't know.
It's such a mess about what's going on. I mean, it's turned into a complete circus. It's not even unwatchable football. It's disinterested football. I'm not even interested in watching these games anymore because, like, I watch a few minutes of it. It's complete ineptitude, and I just turn it off. Like, I watch 90% of the game just because I'm a Jets fan and I'm a glutton, and apparently I like the pain. And that's just how it falls. I mean, I can't stand how we have to have the same conversation by week 7 every single week, right? We've been doing this show, the three of us, for the last 3 years, and every single year by week 6 or week 7, we're talking about the same stuff. What are we doing next year? How are we doing? Is Sam the problem? The coach needs to be fired. It's the same stuff every year. There's no optimism. People tell me give me something to be optimistic about. I have nothing.
The irony is the Giants have been following a similar pattern as the Jets these last 3 seasons we started the show. I don't know if the show's the problem, but at least they have some hope and some optimism. I agree. The crux of my article I wrote with this historically bad offense, it's that Adam Gase is trying to force a round peg into a square hole, or whatever the upside down flip of the analogy is, that he's like, okay, this is my offense. Okay, you guys do this. I don't care what you used to be good at, but you do this. And then he's like, it's not working. Let's try it again.
Well, but what was the thing you told me yesterday about the lowest pre-snap movement?
They have statistically they have the lowest amount of pre-snap movement in the NFL. The wide receivers aren't moving. They're just they line up on the line of scrimmage and they say, okay, it's going to be a running play. It's almost like they're holding a sign like in college saying, we're going to run the ball off the tackle, which, by the way, every single running play is off the tackle. There's no creativity in the at all. If at least move the wide receiver and see if the guy moves with him, and then you know it's.
We know what he did. He simplified his playbook down to about 10% for Flacco, who came off the bench and hadn't played in a year. He did the same thing last year, and it blew up in his face. And of course, he repeated the exact same mistake again because he seems to continuously repeat his mistakes. I don't know why he simplified the offense to that level. It's ridiculous. These are smart football minds. They can handle his complex offense. I expect more of a fire sale from the Jets. I expect Douglas to stockpile draft picks so that his team is actually appealing for a new coach to come coach. Because he'll be like, look, I got 30 picks over the next 2 seasons. Come mold a new fresh crop of players into your image.
I mean, the only way this guy keeps his job, and I said this to Phil yesterday, is that he went to Chris Johnson, and Chris Johnson is drinking the Kool-Aid, and he's saying, listen, this is all part of the plan. The part of the plan is that we were going to take Sam is not my guy, and we're gonna tank for Trevor. I mean, that's the only way that you could think that he has. If this team couldn't beat the 1-15 Jets when Rich Kotite was the coach, that's how bad this team is. They have nothing.
Well, and Chris Johnson hired Gase, and that was his first decision, correct? So for him to fire him would be admitting a mistake, which he hasn't been there long enough to know if he can do.
Well, at some point, Dan, you got to swallow your pride and you got to move on and realize that this guy isn't good. I mean, if any of us were employed by an employer and after a year and a half they realized we were not very good at our jobs, we would be fired. I mean, it's that simple. That's the reality of life. If we were not good at our jobs, we would be fired. This guy is not good at his job. Why are you keeping him? But because you made the wrong decision. There are a lot of business owners that make bad decisions and fire better people because they're not good at their jobs.
Yeah.
I don't get it. To me, that's just not an excuse. You're a professional football team. There's only 32 of them, and you are the laughing stock of the NFL right now. You are so bad that you're going to set unprecedented, odds. Like, you're going to be a 27-point underdog next week. Nobody has been that large of an underdog since the 1976 Buccaneers. They were an expansion team. You're comparing the New York Jets to an expansion team. That's how bad.
They have a negative 110-point differential. It's unheard of. So I know. Let's transition to their arch rivals, who are no longer arch rivals, the Patriots. Are we surprised by what we're seeing in New England? I'm not. I mean, I figured the first month would be pretty good. They're always start the season strong. That's what your job is. And now injuries are catching up. Lack of a solid quarterback. And the rotation's catching up. I mean, a week without Newton, and this team looks completely decimated.
Can you imagine if they had to start week 1 with Jarrett Stidham at the helm? They'd be winless. Yeah,
I mean, they looked like a shell of themselves last week, and Newton came back on the field. I don't know what was missing. They should have at least. I mean, the Broncos aren't bad, right? But the Jets hung with the Broncos, so the Broncos aren't good.
Well, the Broncos are getting healthy, though, because I think Drew Lock played, so they're getting healthier.
Yeah.
It's slow, but
I think it's sorry not to cut you off. I think it's very clear that Cam just has no weapons, and as Cam goes, that team goes. I mean, this is not the same Patriots where Tom Brady could make up for the deficiencies of the playmaking. I mean, they just don't have that, and I think I think you're kind of starting to see, is it Belichick or is it Brady? I mean, I think Belichick's a great coach, but this team is not a very good football team at all.
Because Cam does a lot of running, right? So Cam vultures a lot of touchdowns. He doesn't really – I mean, he throws, but
he doesn't have that – yeah.
Cam is a scrambler, and he has been his whole career. So you have 2 different quarterbacks in that same offense. You can see that what works and what doesn't work.
When Brady's got that precision, I mean, I think they were down 10-0 to the Packers, and he started yelling and screaming, and then they blew him out. So he can still turn it on. And
you see the Aaron Rodgers 3-pump touchdown celebration?
I did not.
I don't know if you're a Key and Peele fan, but that's what it was referencing.
Got it. I do like Key and Peele. I'll look for it.
All right.
Well, we all kind of agree that at this rate the Patriots are going to miss the playoffs. I mean, there's an expanded wild card, but they don't look like a team that was going to secure one.
Miami looks better team than New England, and I'm shocked what Miami did yesterday.
Oh, announced Tua, right?
Yeah, we talked about it in the podcast. I don't understand how a 3-3 team that have put together two essentially blowout victories with Fitz at the helm. Fitz is, currently he's the 7th ranked quarterback in the NFL. And you just benched him for somebody who came in garbage time and threw 2 complete passes. I understand that the future is Tua, but you're winning with Fitz. Why would you make this change now? Because if this team starts to slip, you can't go back. I mean, you've made the transition.
No.
It's like, okay, well, you're not playing well these next 2 weeks. We're going to go back to Fitzpatrick because now all you're doing is just you're covering up your mistake. I mean, if this team was 1-5, I could see you do. They're a 3-3 football team, and they're a game out of first place in the AFC East. It makes zero sense to me.
You could argue that this is the best situation for him to come in. Like, his team is got confidence. They've got swagger. He's a young, dynamic player who wants to prove himself. I mean, Fitz is very good, but we all know the cliff's coming. We just don't know what week it comes in. It always happens to him every single season. He jumps off the cliff, and the team goes with him. They're 3-3. They got a shot at the playoffs. I mean, 2 is the future. This was probably always their plan, that they would ride it out until October if they could, and things were going well. I gotta believe he's ready. I mean, he was a star before he hurt his shoulder, right? Was it shoulder injury or hip? Something.
Yeah.
I get your point about the swagger, but like to combat that, how much of their swagger is because of their quarterback? You know what I mean? Like, is he the reason why they're playing the way that they are, and is he the reason why they have that swagger? I mean, if you're putting him on the bench now, are they losing that mojo that they've had?
It's interesting. You wonder if Fitz was part of the decision because this is his 16th season in the league. He's probably the most respected player amongst players. Maybe he was in on the decision.
He wasn't, because he came out today and said his heart was broken. He was completely blindsided by it. He was not anticipating it. So
yeah, and he's playing so well. Yeah,
which is funny because he was leading the cheering section during the Jets game when Tua came in. He was throwing his hands in the air, like make some noise.
Well, it was a blowout. Yeah.
The 10 people, no, but like he was encouraging Tua to get in there and get some reps, not for him to literally take his job the next day.
This is probably one of the hardest decisions that this head coach will have to make in his career, because the longer you keep Tua on the bench, you're just holding him back. And if you want to win together, you got to get him on the field. But your team's winning with your other guy who is a bridge quarterback. That's why bridge quarterbacks suck. That's why the Sam Darnold situation sucks for the Jets. He can't be a bridge. He wants to start. At least Fitz knows he's the backup, sort of, eventually. You think they win with Tua or no?
I think it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy road in the beginning. They might end up winning, but it's going to be a little bit of a, listen, he has 4 snaps and 2 of them were handoffs. The NFL game is a lot different than it is in college, and you need those reps to name me a rookie quarterback that has come in this year and has been successful. None of them.
Well, Herbert.
He's not winning. All right. He's throwing for a crap ton of yards, but they're not winning.
Well, same thing with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's not winning, but I mean, he's looked the part. I'm just fearful that that they're on this roll now, and now you basically just pump the brake. I mean, it's one thing to throw 2 passes and complete your 2 passes in garbage time against the Jets. The game, there was a minute and 30 seconds left in the game, and you just wanted to get him a couple snaps in the NFL. It's another thing to hand over the keys to the car and expect him to go out and beat these football teams. I don't know if that's the right.
Maybe the owner said you got to play him before the end of October. Do it. I mean,
that was coincides with the bye week, because that's usually when you see these kind of changes during the bye week. So if the bye week was in 2 weeks, maybe this would have been, it would have taken 2 more weeks for this to happen.
Who does Miami play this week?
No, they're on bye.
Yeah, so they announced that he's got 2 weeks to prepare.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I think this more or less coincides with the bye week.
Yeah, and that might have been their plan all along. I mean, especially without a preseason, I wonder if they would have started him week 1 if they had a preseason to work him out in. Because
I don't think he was healthy yet in week 1.
No? So he's that close to his hip healing? I thought it was more like last.
I thought it was more of like he wasn't taking because there was no preseason, limited training camp. Like he wasn't taking hits, right? So you weren't going to risk putting him out there week 1 if he hasn't been taking hits in practice. You're not going to put him in a live game where people are trying to take his head off.
Makes sense.
So you're probably right. That was the plan all along, and we'll see what happens.
I got to tell you about Phil. The Dolphins aren't known for making good decisions, so I hope it works out for them. But I'm more leaning towards Bud's side, where it's like, man, you just screwed over your team's potential for the season under Fitz, who's rolling.
Again, you can't go back. You can't go back to them. I mean, if you go back, all you do is you prove that you made a mistake, and they're not going to want to do that. So, I mean, at this point, you got to ride through it. I mean, you're on a 2-game winning streak. You're a game out of the division, and you don't know what he's going to be. I mean, he could be great, or he can go 0-7 going forward. Like, it's a roll of the dice that I don't know if it was really necessary right now. If Fitz was playing bad, I could see him make the change. If they come out of the bye and they had 2 or 3 straight stinkers, I could see it there. But not off of. I mean, you smoked the 49ers, same team that went in and put a stomp on the Rams.
Yeah.
So I mean, what kind of team are you? Are you that team? Are you the team that just shut out the Jets? Regardless of whether or not the Jets are any good or not, you still shut out a professional football team. So
that's questionable at this point. But I'm just teasing. I know. You're absolutely right.
Possession all game.
I know. No, they really handed it to the Jets. Let's shift gears, Phil, because your Giants got their first win of the season. Wasn't always pretty, but
football for a change, huh?
Yeah. So when does Barkley come back? How are you feeling about the Giants going forward? Because they got more divisional games coming up here. They can really take control.
2021 is when he's coming back.
Oh, not this season at all?
No. No.
I always thought it was like a 5-week injury. I must have misread that.
Where's ACL, dude?
Ah, got it. Okay. So then
actually, at some point in the future, a torn ACL probably will be a 5-week injury, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Fair enough.
ACLs used to be career enders. Now they're, I don't know, 6-8 month injuries now. So it's
8 to 10 months.
All right, 8 to 10 months. So you went from career ending to 8 to 10 months. So it's at some point the technology and the surgery will be so good they'll probably just do it on the sideline in the blue 10. You just go back in the game.
I'm already living in the future.
You're already there.
Okay. Well, how about your Giants?
So it was the game we expected. We know Washington has a pretty good defense. We've known that from the beginning. The Giants' defense is not as bad as everyone thought it was going to be. Daniel Jones had a suspect pick because, as Bud and I discussed yesterday, in my opinion, that was not a pick because his elbow touched the white line. When your elbow touches the white line, you're out of bounds. Should not be an interception. Be that as it may, it didn't lose in the game. But it could have because Riverboat Ron decided to go for 2 at the end of the game. You probably feel like we're 1-4. There's no what are we going to do? We're 1-4. Who cares? If we win, we win. If we don't, we don't. I don't care. I mean, if you heard his quote the game after, he's like, listen, I want to prove to these guys that, if we're going to win games, we're going to go for it. We're not just going to settle for, ties and field goals here. We're going to go for the win, which is probably fine because it's a young team. And again, there's really nothing to lose at this point.
Except that the division is going to be 4 or 5 victories this season.
So I was going to start out my comment by saying after Thursday night's game, we're going to have a tie for first place in the NFC East here because you're going to have a team because I know Dallas is playing Washington. So you could conceivably have, after this weekend, if the Giants beat Philly and Washington beats Dallas, all 4 teams are going to have 2 wins. They're going to be tied for first place in the division.
Well, Philly's got a tie, right? So they'll have a 1 fewer loss.
Technically, yes. But they'll all have 2 wins, and they'll all be essentially tied.
Yeah. I don't know. Carson Wentz has been willing that team to stay competitive. It's got to give at some point.
Pieces, though. You just lost 2 major pieces of your offense, though.
Yeah. I know, but they hung right with the Ravens to the bitter end. I mean, not that I ever thought they were going to win that game, but they really looked like something was coming together. We'll find out tomorrow night. Thursday night football, short week for both teams. tend to lead towards blowouts. I don't know.
I feel like it's going to be the same thing we saw at 19-20, 21-24. Like it's going to be because I think the defenses are way ahead of both offenses. Philly has no weapons. Alshon Jeffrey's not there. Deshaun Jackson's not there. Miles Sanders just got hurt. Ertz is gone. Goddard's not back yet. Who is Carson Wentz throwing to? Jalen Reagor? Who are these guys?
Yeah, and he's running for it. So
his name, but it's a bunch of nobody. Something Ward. I forget his first name, but these are people you never heard of before the season started.
Well, you picked Washington to beat Dallas, and the Giants just beat Washington. I have a hard time seeing anybody getting to 8 wins in that division because they got to play each other so often. And they're so evenly average.
Yeah, I think the Washington defense is just going to beat the crap out of the offensive line of Dallas. Chase Young is going to have a field day, in my opinion.
They were a shell of themselves without Dak. It's really spoke to his.
So wonderful. It's so wonderful to watch.
Well, they got to give him a contract now, right? I mean, they need him desperately. It's
right. So he's going to make his money by not playing. I mean, they might franchise him again, and if you're Dak, you're like, sure, I'll take another $37 million guaranteed or wherever the hell it is. I take that in a heartbeat, but he knows it's not like they're going to cut him.
No, and it's interesting because normally you think, you get the injury, it hurts your negotiating powers, you get less money, but if they look this bad without him, it's totally a win-win.
And Bud made a point yesterday that we know Daniel Jones is the leading rusher of the team, and we can't have that. That can't be the case. But that was a very nice 49-yard design run he had down the sideline there. He even faked the camera crew out. I don't know if you saw that highlight, but the camera was fixated on Devontae Freeman getting tackled, and there goes Daniel Jones running down 50 yards down the field. So it was a nice play.
Well, begs the question, why didn't they didn't pursue Bell at all? I mean, did they just not want that headache to stay in New York, or he was not interested? I mean, I'm not sure he got on the field for the Chiefs last week. I don't think so.
No,
I don't even think he dressed.
Yeah, no, he didn't, and he may or may not dress this weekend too. We're not sure yet.
What's the delay? Do you know?
If you're Bell,
he wants to play against the Jets in 2 weeks, and then he'll rush for 100 yards and catch 5 passes for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right. I mean, there was almost as soon as he said he was getting released, we all jokingly said the Patriots because that's where everybody goes. But why wouldn't you not go to Kansas City? I mean, that's the perfect destination.
The Chiefs won this past week with their running game. They didn't throw a lot. And he wasn't on the field. They don't need him. Like, he's just going to stand on the sidelines and smile? And he'll get his
listen, CEH gets a lot of hype, and he got a lot of yards. But CEH doesn't play goal line. He doesn't get goal line snaps. Don't put him in those situations. He's the first and second down back. That's it. CEH didn't get the score the other day. Darren Williams got the score on the goal line. He's not the goal line back.
Well, Kelsey got 2 scores too at the goal line. So
he's not their goal line back. He's the first and second down back right now. That's it. Yeah. Bell, we know what Bell. We've seen Bell do everything in the past.
So we'll see. We'll see where his character lies, because Bell's used to being the first and second down back, not the come in for third or short yardage situations.
But you know what, Dan? If it means winning a Super Bowl, he's going to do whatever it is. I mean, and the way Kansas City plays, even when they don't play well, they're so much better than every other team.
Yeah.
The fact that they lost against the Raiders, I mean, that's shocking to me, because they've been able to. Patrick Mahomes didn't have to have his best game, and they still beat Buffalo. Like, it was no big deal.
Well,
Did you hear the other ex-Steelers news today that the Seahawks are interested in Antonio Brown?
And they're not going to sign him. I mean, where would they use him?
That's the word on the street right now.
Interesting.
I thought that once he signs with the team, if he signs, that's when his suspension started. Apparently his suspension started week 1, and it's now over after week 8.
Okay. So
I thought you wouldn't see Antonio Brown at all this year, but his suspension is technically over after week 8, and he can sign with whoever he wants.
Yeah. I mean, that makes more sense if he's.
So do we think Antonio Brown's going to take a snap this year?
No.
I think that if the Eagles are within the contention, they'll sign him. They don't have anybody. I mean, some of these teams desperately need anybody, right?
Well, that's my question. I mean, do we feel he takes a snap for anybody in 2020?
I do. I know you said
I don't know where, but
he's too good. Like some of these teams have, or like we said, they don't have any weapons. He's too good. I don't think he'd go back to the Patriots, but they could use him.
what if the Jets sign Antonio Brown?
What would be the point of that?
Just to get his feet wet back in the league again.
It's over. No, I'm not even going to get it.
If they sign him, he's going to play quarterback for them because they're that inept.
He'd be the instant number one target.
Yeah, okay. He'll just fake the handoff and run it himself each play. Oh goodness. Yeah. Well, I don't know what we have to look forward to as Jets fans until the season concludes, because it doesn't seem like we're going to fire our coach. But I'm pulling for your Giants, Phil, because I'd like to see them win that division, even though it's a crapshoot.
Well, so the next 5 weeks, well, 4 now, but it was Washington, Philly, Tampa, which is probably going to be a loss, Washington, Philly. So 4 of your next 5 games are division opponents against the same 2 teams.
So are we going to be looking at the first?
You sweep them, you're sitting at 4 you'd be 4-6 at that point if you lose to Tampa Bay. You'd be sitting at 4-6.
Are we talking about the first place Giants heading into Thanksgiving? It's not out of the question.
No, and that's why I'm laughing, because you're right. It's not out of the question. It should be out of the question, but it's not.
I think we'll end it there, because that's just.
This could be a new point after Thursday night's game. I hope not, but.
I hope so. Any final thoughts, Bud? You're our timer, man.
I don't have the timer today. All I can say is I just want this year to be over.